So today we have Hugo and Vicky and Pankaj from Biospringer APAC region team, and they essentially are focused on yeast-based solutions, right? That's what Biospringer largely does, and we are going to look at a lot of these ingredients and their applications in the plant-based protein sector in Asia, and also with a focus in India, and how you can, basically take some inspiration from their products, their processes, and also use some of the ingredients as you look to create products in this area. So just to give you a quick background on the speakers, Hugo comes with a master's degree in food engineering and has spent about 10 years, basically 10 years taking care of the Asia business for Biospringer, and has background in industrial and product development and marketing and business development for foods. He's basically also looking at the innovation pipeline for the APAC region. Vicky is a food scientist by education and also has background in bioprocess engineering with a lot of experience in yeast extracts, and basically has worked on a lot of food segments, including processed meat, beverages, plant-based and vegan snack offerings, etc. And she's also a part of the Biospringer Culinary Center based out of Singapore. And Mr. Pankaj is basically the sales manager for India for Biospringer and has a background in food science and technology from CFTRI. So all of our speakers come with a lot of education and understanding and experience in food science and product development, and especially focus on yeast. So we have received very interesting questions, and we look to answer a lot of them as we move ahead through this webinar.
Hello. So yes, I hope you can see my screen from now. So thank you, Shardul, for this introduction, and we are pleased to be hosted by the Good Food Institute in order to share our experience through this vegan segment in focusing on the Indian markets. I will start the presentation. So we are here having, as you mentioned, Vicky and Pankaj also to assist me over this webinar. I will start with a quick introduction of our company in order to let you know who is Biospringer and which segment are we touching thanks to these ingredients. So we are belonging to Le Saffre family group, which is a worldwide #1 yeast producer over the world, and which main core business is still belonging to the living and baking yeast activities. So they are touching the baking way in order to provide the best possible yeast for having some industrial baking sides, whereas you can have some final products onto the premixes, bread improvers, sourdoughs, and yeast as is. So this is the main historical background from the core business of the Le Saffre. Then from the past years, we've been doing a lot of research and development and trying to expand to some, let's say, new segments in order to go for, I would say, additional values over the market and in order to expand our activities. One of the main one is does concern the food taste and pleasure, and Biospringer is part of it. The aim of this business unit is to provide natural ingredients, GMO-free, which can give some, I would say, taste enhancement and better taste profile in your formulation ingredients. Then we have two remaining main, let's say, segments. We are touching the healthcare, and I will talk about it also during the presentation, whereas we can provide, let's say, functional and additional value thanks to the instant dry yeast or autolyzed, also yeast extract, which could be enriched in some specific nutrients. So this is for the human care, and we are also taking care about the feed care, whereas we can also have some specific products which aim is to protect animals through the digestibility, through the mycotoxin binders, and so on. And at least the last one is touching to the industrial biotechnology, whereas we have, let's say, very high proteins compound in terms of yeast extracts in order to enrich the fermentation way to provide also some nutrients to some bacteria and metabolites productions. So this is a part of the, let's say, of the whole group of Le Safre. And here today, we're going to spend some time with Biospringer in order to, from these natural origin ingredients, to see the benefits and to touch dedicated vegan segments in India. So the main mission is, as I mentioned to you, to bring pleasure by improving the taste, nutritional and sensory properties of food and beverage. You will see today that we will touch in this vegan segment two sub-segments, at least the meat analogs and also the dairy analogs. And we will try to provide the best example of adding value which could be brought out by these yeast extracts inside these two sub-segments. So of course, we are working within the taste. So we have, I would say, taste experts in order to develop the best concepts and to provide the best assistance in your final formulation through ingredients matrices. We do have a global presence for better proximity at the regional side. As you can see, we are having some production and manufacturing facilities either in the North America, in Brazil, in Europe, and we are expanding a lot over Asia now since the past years. And we're having already two plants in China, which are, let's say, taking care about regional Asia, so APAC area. As I mentioned to you, we are touching the taste, so we do need to touch segments and final applications. So we can touch instant noodles, seasonings, beverages, ready meals, sauce. So all these kind of segments can be touched with our experts, and we are working deeply on the application side thanks to our culinary centers. So we are having a culinary center here in Singapore, which is taking care about the regional aspects. We are also having one in China and some other location also. We are expanding the product portfolio in order to really be able to build up specific tailor-made products. And one of its, I mean, we still have some development lab in China inside the factory, which is again taking care about the regional aspects. But we are also depending on the central R&D located in France. So in terms of technical network, as I just mentioned, we are expanding through the culinary centers, which is made about a team having some expertise in the formulation by using the yeast extracts, and also capable to touch any kind of segments whereas this yeast extract could be applied. So we will see what is a trend on the vegan, but this is the vegan way. It has been expanded a lot since the past 2 years. So we've been able to catch this trend upstream and to develop our own recipe for vegan formulation, and also integrate some new yeast extracts which could be applied into this matrix. So that's why we need to be, let's say, very close to the market trends, market insights, and develop our own food technology in a parallel way. So in terms of R&D development capabilities, we have 20 scientists located in France dedicated to the development of yeast extracts. We have some experts panels and flavorists located depending let's say, the manufacturing locations. So either in France, US, Brazil, and China. We are, of course, taking benefits of Le Safre. As I mentioned, Le Safre is the #1 worldwide yeast producer over the world. So it means that we are working from a yeast which is dedicated to the yeast extract, let's say, characteristics. And I will come back on this one through the process as soon as we will start the presentation on this one. So we are also capable to do external partnerships. And we have some process industrialization departments. So it means that inside each factory, we have a pilot development lab, which is capable to be very close to the industrial conditions, thanks to the expertise we can bring and the equipments we are using. So I will start quickly with what is yeast extract before we go ahead for the vegan trend and the solutions we can bring to India. So what is yeast extract? As I mentioned, yeast extract is coming from the yeast, which is a living microorganism, and we are belonging Le Safre again. So we have a specific design of a yeast depending the yeast extract. The yeast is naturally rich in two main compounds, either the carbohydrates and either the proteins part. If I stick to the Le Safre activity, it means the fermentation activity, I would need a yeast, a living yeast, which would be very rich in carbohydrates, so it means sugars. And if it's rich in sugars, it will be less richer in a proteins way. Why do we need a lot of carbohydrates? This is to generate further fermentation attributes, depending the final application, which is for the, let's say, the baking side, the dough application. But here in the yeast extract, it's opposite way. We have a specific design of this living yeast in order to enrich of proteins. So it means I try to build up a yeast which is more rich in muscles, in a sense, proteins part, and then if it's richer in proteins, this will be lower contents in carbohydrates. And this is the design of the yeast extract I need. Why? Because to produce yeast extracts, everything is starting from the proteins parts. The proteins will be considered as a raw material for the yeast extract producer. So it means that we need a specific fermentation process which will allow our yeast, naturally speaking, to be enriched in these proteins, in these muscles. So we do receive the living yeast, and instead of keeping alive, we're gonna go for killing the yeast in order to start the extraction of the compounds. The proteins are big chain, okay, big chain of proteins, so they don't, these big chains will not generate any taste at the end. So we need to go through a natural process with also the help of natural enzymes in order to cut these big chain of proteins into taste active compounds. These taste active compounds can be peptides, either big, either small, and also free amino acids. So how do we do? We take the living yeast and we go for heating treatments. So we go for high temperature treatments super quickly in order to explode, to stress and to explode the yeast. Then the yeast will be exploded and we get back quickly to normal temperature in order to activate and to make working the natural enzymes. Indeed, the yeast is complex and inside of it, you've got some sleeping enzymes. Once they are awoken, these sleeping enzymes, the proteases mainly, will be able to work on the proteins parts and to start to cut these big proteins into small compounds, which will generate some taste active compounds. So in taste active compounds, as I mentioned to you, it can be peptides, free amino acids. We can generate also natural ribonucleotides, what we call natural I plus G, depending some, let's say some adaptations through the process. So it's a natural process. We are not using any chemicals on this one, and we are playing with natural enzymes. So either the natural enzymes coming from the yeast or the natural origin enzymes. So at the end of this breakage step, whereas the key parameters again are enzyme, temperature, time, pH, we are going to have a separation between the heavy weight compounds, which are called yeast cell walls, to the light phase, which is yeast extracts with taste active compounds. So how do? We go for separation, so centrifugal high-speed separation in order to separate both of phases, and we're gonna keep the light phase, which is the yeast extract. So this yeast extract media environment is not concentrated yet. So it means we're gonna go for downstream process through evaporation. So this is, after separation, we will go for evaporation step by step in order to remove and evaporate the water till reaching the final step, which is the packaging, depending the final shape of the product. So we can provide either a powder shape or liquid paste, depending the final application requested by the consumer. So product benefits here, again, I already talked about taste active compounds, so we are here to improve the taste. We can supply a natural flavor base, specific flavor note, and we will have example of this one, umami taste and richness. So this is mainly specific compounds inside of the yeast, the yeast extracts. So either the glutamic acid, either the small peptides, either the natural hyperG. Then umami means long lasting. And we have also some solutions for the off notes. And we have some real example during this presentation for the off notes generated by plant proteins base. We are here also to develop vegan formulations. So we can bring some specific meat profile, again, coming from the yeast extract or even the cheesy notes under this yeast extract compound. Then we can also contribute to healthier formulations, and we will speak about it. That during the vegan, in the vegan segment today, there will be a lot of salt added because taste means salt. So we are here also to bring up some solutions to reduce the salt by bringing up some umami profile. So that's just for introduction about yeast extracts, yeast and yeast extracts. So now if we focus about the plant-based protein with great taste and the solutions we can apply to you. So again, the main trend here is we have some different evolution of profiles of, let's say, final consumers. Either they are flexitarian, vegetarian, or vegan. But all these guys could be touched by the plant proteins base here with some specific solutions. So there is a trend in the past years, rising trend, whereas we can see a very let's say, a claim for the vegetarian claim in the food. So either in APAC is going to be very active, and we can see it with, let's say, for example, few examples here about Indonesia, or either number of total of products launched in Asia Pacific with some featured about vegetarian claim, which, for example, represents 17%. Overall speaking, you can see that, especially for India, for religion purpose, there are already quite a number of people vegetarian per country. You can see that in India, 38%, and this is again mainly due to religion reduced aspect. But you can see, for example, a smaller country like Australia is already reaching 5%. So it means that depending the countries, people have some different expectations, and we can face some different trends in terms of people targeting this vegan one. If we go now on the, let's say on the focus on the Indian markets, you can see that there is a rise, a significant rise by products claim containing soy, for example, and for the number of products which are new product development launches from 2016 to 2019, with a high expansion of these new products launches and claim with soy content. So soybean and soy protein are used as a key ingredients in meat substitute products in India. We can see that there is also a way for some new plant proteins to be introduced over the market, which is also pea proteins. So we will see the challenge behind this usage of the plant proteins, which are again mainly soybean and pea proteins. In terms of product claims in India, we can see from 2016 to 2019 that there is a claim of high source of protein under the vegetarian way, also with no additives, preservatives, and also in the main highlight, GMO-free. So again, these characteristics are aligned with yeast extract characteristics, which are again natural, GMO-free, non-meat, animal-free, sorry. So what are consumers' expectations? Here, the main challenge is to give back, so we have to respect the good taste. So the pleasure still remains the main criteria. People for plant proteins, especially the meat analogs, they have to have the same sensations as meat, as if they were eating meat. So it means that we have to contribute to still good taste, texture, and smell. Of course, these products they have to be natural products and clean label. So there is again a high trend for a claim of being clean label, and nutritional properties are also important. So the source of proteins will be important, and as I mentioned, yeast extract is full of proteins. Our products are over 70% of proteins. So again, this is aligned with market expectations. So the main challenge here is to develop the great taste plant-based applications. And what does it mean? So it means that in this, let's say, actual trend we can see over the markets, these plant-based, they are contributing to off notes. So we were speaking about soy, about pea, all these kinds of plant proteins will generate, unfortunately, some off notes. So the job here is how to overcome this challenge and to mask these off notes. Then taste means umami. So here, same, it's kind of short profile in terms of taste, short after taste, short long lasting. So we will see how the yeast extract can contribute to the umaminess and to give you more body, more complexity in terms of taste profile. So in the plant proteins type in food, in APAC, just to give you overall view, and this is linked to my previous slides, we can see that in total APAC area, there is the #1 proteins part claim for this NPD is soy proteins. So this is quite stable over the time. And the second we can see right now on the total launches are wheat protein, and then are coming the other ones. We can see that the pea proteins is expanding from the past 3 years, and this is what I mentioned to you previously. So again, soy is a main one used today. So again, the soy will give you some, let's say, off notes, some greeny, some earthy, moldy, bitterness, astringent, beany notes. So this is a base ingredient, and the challenge is how to overcome this difficulty by having a taste profile, a taste base, which is having these characteristics. So the main challenge here for Biospringer is to help to great taste in 2 different sub-segments touching the vegan market, either the meat substitutes and either the dairy substitutes. So we're going to start with the meat substitutes, and Vicky will take care of it.
Thank you, Hugo. So now I will start from let's start from meat substitute. Okay. Sorry for this. Okay, first of all, let us have a look of the plant-based protein being used in meat analog over the APAC. We can see that from over 2015 to 2019, soy remained the leading plant protein have been used in meat substitute. This might be linked to the habit or eating culture and also a religion in this region. Asians are more familiar to soy profile, so they have a very high tolerance and acceptance of soy protein profile. However, we can see that there's a dry or new plant-based protein source also, such as pea protein, which increased sharply from 2017 to 2019. And besides that, we can see there's a rising of rice protein being used in meat analog as well. So in APAC region, we can see that for the main flavor trend being applied in meat substitute, chicken, curry, and egg flavor is the main profile that being developed. Besides that, for Indian market, we can see that there's mainly content for more spices and herbs, as well as some vegetable flavor profile. In addition, seafood alternatives have been launched mainly in Sri Lanka market, which focus on prawn, shrimp, and cuttlefish. Besides that, there's some seaweed, mushroom, and toaster main flavor profile being developed over the market. And here is some of the example over APAC market. The meat substitute new product launch, they contain essential in their ingredient list. So let's have a look, focus on the Indian meat substitute market. We can see that for these 3 examples, meat substitute being launched in Indian market, can see that most of the meat substitute are made of soy protein, and healthy claim will reduce cholesterol and fat, and even some clean label with no additive, no preservative is a main key highlight point to attract the consumer. So for as we all know that India has a very young consumer base and one of the largest working age population. So for the quick service restaurant operator over international brand or local brand that are target this young, busy, working, younger consumer as their main audience. So that in order to help satisfy their lifestyle need, quick service restaurant have offer a convenient format by increasing their vegan or vegetarian menu every year and incorporating some traditional flavor to attract them. So we can see that at our right hand side for the global data 2017, they did done a food service survey. We can see that 47% of survey consumers have a vegetarian, have a vegan meal, and further 24% indicate that, and 24% indicate that their dairy milk meet other dietary requirements such as halal or kosher. So here is a few examples for a quick service restaurant. So we can see that there's a veggie ginger burger in KFC and also Mac veggie burger in Mac of Green Pea from McDonald's. Besides of the international brand, we can see that local quick service restaurant also very active, such as home restaurant. They're having a local traditional vegan meal like vegan Manchurian, also a classic watapa. So actually, we all agree that taste profile is the main key factor to attract the consumer to start consume a plant-based meat substitute without compromising in taste. So today Biospringer here actually offer a wide range or yeast-based ingredient solution. So by sharing earlier, one of the top flavor being developed in Indian meat substitute market is spices and herbs. So today I would like to take this opportunity to introduce one of our Biospringer essential product that help to boost the spiciness. So actually this specific essential help to increase the spiciness intensity in recipe that containing herbs or spices, as well as creating a long-lasting spiciness sensation. Besides that, it also effectively balances the savory profile by giving a mild umami. So this essential actually can be applied in seasoning, sauces, soup, or any kind of vegan application. So actually, Singapore Culinary Center, we did develop a dedicated vegan meat analog. So here we are giving one example is a vegan garam masala patty. And for your information, this vegan garam masala patty is mainly made of soy protein as a main plant-based protein, which is close to the market study. So in this vegan garam masala patty, we've been added this specific essential as 1% to boost out the spiciness flavor profile. At the same time, with this enriching original masala profile, it helps to cover the soy off note. Besides that, it also gives you some mild umami and improve a long-lasting lingering profile. So you will get a very rounded and a balanced masala garam masala patty. Okay. So next, as we mentioned in meat analogs, some of the consumers that are expecting some real meaty profile that are close to a real meat. So Biospringer is also offering a wide range of specific flavor essential that cover a large spectrum of meaty flavor notes, such as chicken, roasted chicken, grilled meat, roasted or some smoked meat also. This is thanks to the unique specific flavor base they deliver for our vegan essential. So we are here giving another vegan meat analog example. It's a vegan chicken meatball. And same to a vegan masala patty. This is made of a soy protein as a main plant protein. So in this recipe, we have added 3% of specific essential. They help to give an authentic chicken flavor profile. So it will provide you a original chicken profile with some mild natural umami taste. At the same time, it will highlight a lingering, long-lasting profile. So that's all for our meat analog, how the yeast-based ingredient can be held in a meat analog. And for the next, we will go forward for the dairy analogs. So let's start from dairy analog. By overall speaking, consumer of plant-based dairy analog actually are driven by nature, informed, and also aware of environmental issue. And this demonstrated the need of the brand to create some to clearly communicate on their commitment to sustainability, such as through the carbon reduction strategy and also eco-friendly packaging. And we can see that for the dairy analogs, new product launched in Asia Pacific for past 2015 to 2019, there's a huge increase, and people are start focusing on this dairy analog. And let's focus back to the plant-based protein being used in dairy analog over the Asia Pacific. Actually, similar to the meat analog, we can see that soy protein still remains the key ingredient, key plant-based protein being used in dairy analog. Even though there is some other options such as pea protein or rice protein, but soy protein still remains the high top plant-based being used in dairy analog. And how about the new product launched on dairy analog in India over 2014 to 2019? We can see that they also increased over the past 5 years in India, but except for soy protein, Indian market also actively using almond as one of the main plant-based protein to develop a dairy alternative. Besides that, we can see manufacturers are still very active to explore other plant-based protein, so that there's an opportunity to offer consumer a more diverse portfolio of plant-based protein. For example, they were using umami, adamant, and some popular flavors such as cheese to interest the consumer to consume some of the plant-based dairy alternatives. So today, actually, dairy alternative is cover both vegan cheese and some plant-based milk. So today we will separate into this. We will focus into these two segments. We will start from a vegan cheese first. So actually, vegan cheese, it can be known as an alternative to dairy-based cheese, also be known as non-dairy or some plant-based alternative cheese, or also it can be called as cheese analog. It can be made by different kind of plant milk, such as coconut milk, sweet milk, or peanut milk, or it can be mainly made of pea, or some nuts, such for example hazelnut or cashew nut. And generally, lactic acid are often added into this vegan cheese application to help to adjust the acidity of the product. And the main factor to driving the demand over the vegan cheese is due to the health and environment. We can see that there's a rising concern over population toward the lactose intolerance. Besides that, there also awareness on vegan dietary sharing or highly promoting over the social media. Besides that, consumers believe that vegan cheese contain less cholesterol and less saturated fat, as well as less sodium compared to a real cheese. So they are believed that it's more healthy to consume a vegan cheese instead of consume a real cheese that contain more fat, more cholesterol. And I think one of the main factors driving this demand over the vegan cheese is how well a vegan cheese resembles the real cheese in terms of sensory attributes, which focus on the meltability, the creaminess, and the flavorful vegan cheese profile. So I mentioned just now, people are expecting some real vegan cheese profile. So we can see that over the top flavor in Asia Pacific, new product launched over the dairy-free cheese, they are focusing on unflavor. This unflavor actually is referring to the original cheese flavor. They are cheddar, mozzarella, or Parmesan cheese. Besides that, they also have some flavor innovation like smoked chili or cheese, some herb and spices to incorporate onto this unflavored original cheese profile. And here is the example of the vegan cheese launched over the Asia Pacific market. It's happy to see that actually 26.5% of new product launched over the APAC market that contain yeast extract as one of the ingredients in a dairy-free cheese application. So as mentioned just now, we have a specific flavor yeast extract. So we also have a specific flavor yeast extract that are mainly designed to deliver an authentic cheese profile on dairy-free cheese application. It's a natural and lactose-free solution that help to deliver a cheese character and strengthen the taste and highlight the cheese flavor profile, At the same time, it will help you to improve the overall taste profile by making more rounder and more long lasting. So this vegan cheese, so this Biospringer is actually that specifically help to boost out the cheese profile. It can be applied in seasoning, saucer, and any kind of vegan application, as well as some sweet applications like biscuit or cake application. So here we're having an example is over the snack application. So we're having a dairy-free cheese flavor cheese, potato cheese seasoning. By adding 1% of this specific yeast sachet, they help to contribute a natural cheesy flavor profile, and it gives you a long-lasting savory profile. And at the same time, it will help you to boost out your original creamier profile. So beside of the snack cheese seasoning, it also can be applied in a processed cheese. So we here having an example of vegan cheese ball. For this vegan cheese ball, we are made of coconut milk and coconut oil as a main plant protein. So we added a 1.5% of this specific Biospringer yeast sachet, how to impact the also cheese flavor profile. It also give a rounder mouthfeel by enriching the creamier profile. At the same time, it will contribute some mild umami profile. It will give you a very nice, lingering, long-lasting cheesy profile. So next, we will move for the plant-based beverage, and I will pass back to Hugo for this segment.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. So the second sub-segment we're going to touch for the dairy analogs is linked to the plant-based beverages. Again, if we come back to some market data, because it's quite important to see where the market is coming from and where do we go on these markets, insights and knowledge. So here is a trend of new product launches in India over the past years. And in the same way as we did for the meat analogs, we can see that there is some different claims. And what are the main highlights in terms of claims? We have a main highlight for the vegetarian one, the no additive preservative, and also the high source of protein. So once again, we are speaking about clean ingredients, which has some interest into the proteins contents, which is also fitting to the vegetarian claim by having non-added ingredients in this composition. So again, we are speaking about targeting specific health needs by also some functional benefits. So if we have a look now on the main beverages and yogurts launches in Asia Pacific area, and the top, let's say, grains or nuts used in that recipes, we can see again some logical observation compared what we have been claiming before. One of it is almond. So almond is mainly used, and this is the most popular plant beverage lunch in APAC since at least 2017. And it's marketed as a premium vegan due to the composition, due to the fact that it's allergen-free. So it means this is soy-free, lactose-free, gluten-free benefits. Then the second one, again, we come back with the soybean, a little bit like align with the meat analogs, which is top, let's say, top global milk consumption in Asian markets, and which could be used and drink during breakfast from, let's say, a consumer's habits. And then we have another other basis. One of it is a coconut base, which is quite raising up from time to time, especially from South Asia. And also the oats one, which is also coming mainly from Australia, so more mature market in terms of vegan habits. So these are the main ones used, overall speaking, on the market. So again, this base will give you some off notes and the challenge behind it is how to overcome this tasting of notes in order to have a better taste profile. So in the main flavor trends, so we saw the base, what was the base used, and what are the flavor added top on this one. So the main one is still unflavored, but still after that, we have a trend with a strong one onto the cacao, cocoa at 23%, and other, let's say, more into the fruity type like peach and other coconut, which could be positively used in terms of taste profile. So few examples here, we've been catching up from new product launch examples in India. And again, this is linked to the market observations where we've been claiming the almond use #1 and also the soy as a base use #2 with some flavoring parts. So here, again, linked to the cocoa observation, here it's on the left part, this is almond base, which is flavored into the dark chocolate way. And again, it's linked also to the meat analogs observations on the claiming. So this is all calcium, okay? So it means like healthy benefits in terms of composition. There is no artificial coloring, no artificial flavoring, so dairy-free, of course, non-GMO, non-gluten, and so on. Then the other example is the soy milk, again on the chocolate flavor profile, with some, let's say, tasty and healthy claim behind, rich in antioxidants, okay, very focused about the healthy profile. Same also with calcium, high protein compounds, okay, this is mainly used due to the proteins type used on this product. So again, these are quite well aligned with market observation. So now what is a solution we can bring? We have a specific product which has been developed newly over the market, which name is Springer Mask 101. And the aim is really to target this beverage segment, and especially on this vegan segment, whereas some off notes will be generated from the usage of soy or either the almonds base for this these final products. So it means that the aim is really to mask the off notes, and by, let's say, taking the profit of yeast extract products, which is again a natural solution, vegan suitable, and so on, in order to be able to be applied in these related applications. So initially speaking, we had two targets. One was to mask the off notes which are generated due to sweeteners adding in some of the beverage. So it means that either the stevia can generate some very bitterness, metallic off notes, unwanted lingering effect. This is a product whereas it could be applied in this matrix with positive final results. Then the other one is the one which is linked to the vegan segments, whereas we have the neutralization of the off notes coming from these vegetable proteins. Again, we've been claiming some attributes, some taste attributes due to the usage of the vegan, of the plant protein, like earthy, beany, bitterness also. So this product can be applied in that directions. The benefits is this product doesn't bring any taste at all. So again, the aim that this product has a specific biochemical compound, which aim is to mask the bitterness and the bitter receptors in order to have less bitterness at the end. So this is neutral taste. Really, we are having a blocking aspect here, blocking benefits in mouth in order to block this bitterness. It's transparent and water soluble, so it's fitting well in beverage applications, and we can see quite very low dosage in order to have some positive, let's say, feedback through this application matrix here. The good thing also is can be claimed as natural flavor or natural flavoring, and again suitable for vegan vegetarian. So here, this is a little bit just to speak about the action mode. As I mentioned to you, it's this specific compound is acting as a bitter blocker. So this is specifically due to composition of yeast extract. As you remember at the early stage of this presentation, everything is starting from the yeast, but we play on and from the proteins. So it means that we can still have the way to manage some specific compounds depending the type of proteins, depending the compound of the yeast, and depending the enzyme we are using over this breakage step, which was claimed at the early stage of this presentation. So by blocking the bitterness, the perception of all the unwanted flavor notes are diminished, either the metallic notes coming from, let's say, the sweeteners, or either the earthy and the beany notes, which are coming from the plant proteins type. So we are having here one example, and we have others available also, developed by our culinary center on the plain soy milk. So here, by adding these specific products, low dosage, 50 ppm, we are capable to hide and to mask the soy notes, reduce the fatty notes, and increase the sweet part. So we have a better, by masking the off note, we have a better profile, balancing overall profile and in terms of taste. We could apply this example. If you remember, like a few minutes ago, there was some example with a chocolate one, chocolate flavored one in a sense. We have also other solutions, for example, to enhance the chocolate. So it means that you could imagine the example of doing a 2 layers step to see the different effects. Either the first one could be to mask the off notes coming from the soy, and then also to play on the chocolate notes, whereas we have some solutions for chocolate enhancement or dark roasted notes enhancements into beverages one. Again, by applying natural yeast extract, specific profile already, very roasted, dark one, but capable to enhance either the chocolate dark notes, cafe notes, and coffee notes, and so on. It could be also applied with the fruity notes. We saw some example like the peach. So imagine like same kind of beverage with a peach flavor. We have some solutions also to enhance afterwards the flavor profile. So here, the second one is the plain almond milk. So the first one was soy, and we come back to the almonds, which are again, which is again number one plant protein base used in this type of vegan segments. And here it's a little bit dosage changing compared to the previous example. Here we are touching at 100 ppm. We are less chemical, less astringent. So we are capable to mask this off note. So again, we can give some recommended dosage, but it's all depending also the type of plant proteins which is used and the composition of it afterwards. So just to finish, just to sum up, let's say the benefits of the yeast extracts. So we can play on the taste improvements. So again, if we sum up from what we saw over this presentation, there is everything is coming from the proteins inside the yeast, and thanks to specific enzymatic activities, natural heating treatments, and we are capable to generate some compounds. These compounds, some of it can be the umami compounds, which could give you the opportunity to mask the off notes. These also type of compounds are capable to give you some spicy enhancements and then long-lasting more body. So you can also mask these off notes in the meat analogs way, for example. So we have different type of yeast extracts with different properties. We can contribute to FC formulation. Again, the yeast extract we are providing here are 70% proteins compounds. So this is rich in a proteins way under clean label. I already spent some time on it. We have some specific range for organic, very, let's say, tailor-made and specific range coming from France. it's suitable for vegan, vegetarians. So again, we are animal free. We are starting from this living microorganism, and from it we are processing in a natural way to generate these compounds. And we have some a way for off-note masking with the yeast extract I just mentioned to you, with some specific composition also. So our products are natural, GMO-free, kosher certified and halal certified, and also suitable, of course, in the vegan way. So this is all from our side, and I think we can switch to the next step right now.
Great. Thank you so much. That was very detailed, and I think we covered a lot of ground, you know, in terms of yeast ingredients, new product development, specifics around, you know, how they go on about masking. And Pankaj and Vicky, thank you so much for answering a lot of these questions from the Q&A section while the webinar was on. Great. So we can actually move to the next segment. Maybe we should take just a few seconds of a quick break. I hope everybody is really engaged and enjoying the webinar. If you are, maybe just go to your dashboard and, you know, raise your hand so that we know that you are kind of having fun.
Sure.
Yes, sure.
All right, great. So really quick, like, could you tell us a little bit about the regulatory aspects of all your, you know, yeast-based ingredients in general, and, you know, from Biospringer as well? Are they GM-free? You know, in India, GM considerations are important, and could you tell us a little bit about the regulatory approvals, etc.?
So on the question, Shadul, it was GMO-free. I mean, this is GMO-free, right?
Yes, and any other regulatory considerations for India market, you know, for all your ingredients?
Okay, so I will go for the GMO free. So yes, we are GMO free from the early stage to the final stage. So it means we don't do any modified genomes or genetics either from the yeast. We've been acquiring 160 years experience of dealing with yeast as is, and that's why we are quite lucky to depend on Le Saffre company, which main expertise is yeast. So the way we obtain the best yeast, in a sense, is also the nature of the yeast, the strain of the yeast, again non-GMO, but also the way to do the fermentation. The fermentation is a key point to, let's say, have the best profile of the yeast, because the way you're going to do your fermentation, you can go for bodybuilding at the gym, or either you go to prepare a marathon. You know, the training will be different. Either you're going to run very fast 100 meters, or you're going to go for 42 kilometers. So it means that we are capable through this fermentation, depending the type of nutrients we go for fermentation, depending the type of fermentation, depending the temperature, depending the strain, that to generate the best yeast to be able to process downstream through the yeast extract. So again, we are looking at yeast enriched as much as possible in the proteins compounds, because this will be the raw material which be used to go through the yeast extract process. And again, this is GMO-free from top to down process.
Got it. That's an excellent point. And obviously, yeast extracts are, you know, also have a correlation on health. Fermentation certainly adds some elements to making these products healthy or not, you know. So there were questions around, you know, some of these ingredients and their nutrition or health benefits, or, you know, any kind of anti-nutritional factors. So if you, Yogo, could just touch base a little bit upon that.
Sure, Shadul. As I mentioned, the good thing of yeast extract is proteins compound. This is the main thing. We have, nevertheless, I would say some, coming back to the early stage of the presentation, we have some dedicated business units, whereas we have a specific inactive dry yeast or yeast extract, which could be enriched about specific compounds. So again, everything is managed from the fermentation as is, and we could generate, or we can generate, some specific product profile which could be good for immunity. I know it's something also in the rise from now. So it means which could be enriched in selenium, in iron, in different compounds, zinc. Also, we have a range for specific vitamins type. So again, we try to work with the good thing is belonging to LESAF allows the business unit to have a cross-functional collaboration. So this business unit is taking about, let's say, human care, but human care can touch also the food application, as I was mentioned. So you could speak about the, okay, if I will need a yeast extract, is a yeast extract can be enriched in some specific compounds like minerals, vitamins? The answer is yes. We have some solutions for that. And this solution will provide you better digestibility, health, better immunity enhancements. So we have some solutions for that.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And I think one question, by the way, all the attendees, you should look at the Q&A chat box. There are like a bunch of questions there, about 33 of which have already been answered by Pankaj and Vicky. So just click on the answer tab and you should be able to see a bunch of them and the answers to those questions. But one of the questions was about vitamin B12. Is that something you go specifically which you can, tailor for in your ingredient?
Yes, we are having same under this business unit. We are still working on that solution. This is something which is on the market rise since few months now. So yes, again, Gnosis, the other business unit can help onto this one, Shardul. Yes. Again, the main specificity is really to be able to how the yeast can take upstream, this compound, or either it's fortified or enriched. So we have a little bit differentiation, but at the end, yes, the yeast has to catch it somewhere. So this is a specificity of this product, and B12 is part of it. Yes.
Got it. Makes sense. I think obviously you are focused on the Asia Pacific market, and your team is also largely focused on this market. There are a lot of similarities between India and this market, from a flavor profile perspective. Use of a lot of flavoring, spices, umami flavors, heat, all of those, in the end products, especially when it would come to plant-based meat or, plant-based egg applications. So do you think that yeast extract has specific flavor notes, when we are focusing on plant-based meat? Any case studies, any examples in the past that you could relate to here would be really helpful.
Yes, the good thing with, again, that's why we have different type of yeast extracts. You may not necessarily need a top note to be added to get the specific flavor profile. Some of the yeast extract we can provide, this is part of what we saw, can give you already these specific flavor notes. Some can be very roasted, dark profile, or meaty profile, and we don't need necessarily to add the top note. The top note probably will give you more complexity in taste, but already the matrix on side, and depending the yeast extract we can provide can give you, let's say, enough specific flavor profile without being obliged to say to go for a top note. For example, we are doing some internal study with vegan nuggets, whereas we are applying soy as the main plant proteins, and we don't necessarily need to add a specific yeast extract with a chicken profile to give already, this kind of meaty, off note and meaty profile. So it's all about the different kind of yeast extract we can provide. Of course, it's a little bit, let's say, it's a lot of experience way, because as I mentioned, it's all about composition, process, the type of yeast. So our job is really to be dedicated to customers and to give you the best functional and technical advantages of that. So I would say it can be used without, it can be used with, and if it's with, you probably will have a better complexity. But again, the good advantage is we have this extract, again, natural flavoring, which can give you already this kind of flavor profile.
Yeah, got it. That makes a lot of sense. So specifically around MSG, right? I mean, MSG has a lot of talk when it comes to its application in foods, and especially in India, as you might know, with Maggie case, with MSG use, etc. Do you think that these yeast extract can also replace MSG in applications in plant-based meat products, etc.?
We can, yes, yeast extract can challenge MSG. It's always, you know, past years, long discussions, but yes, it can challenge MSG because, again, we can provide the savory umami taste, which is coming from the natural glutamate contents. So the glutamate is a free amino acids we can generate from the proteins autolysis. Okay, when I say like breakage steps, this is the way to break the big proteins into the small chain and even small chain into the free amino acids. So glutamate is one of these compounds generated, which will give you a umami taste profile. Whether the MSG is more isolated substances, which needs to be labeled as in amber, for example, if you refer to the EU regulation in Europe. So we are in a very different case. Either the MSG is isolated from other fermentation way, either the glutamate is part of the umami matrix, umami compound, and which is part of the yeast extract, naturally speaking. So this is the salt of the free amino acid of glutamate I was talking about. So the answer is yes, we can compete. By also taste profile, I would say that the MSG as is really like give you front taste. Whether we are more complexity of compounds, taste active compounds coming from the yeast extract, which will cover the front and the umami at the back, which is mainly coming from the natural I+G, we can claim also in our high umami range. So the answer is yes, under conditions. Of course, these guys are using already high content of MSG, there will be a high challenge. But on the taste profile, on the umami background, and also on the claiming part, yes, we could compete, we can challenge MSG.
Got it. Yeah, that's a good answer. And I mean, the next question is around, so there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking to develop products in the plant-based meat, eggs, and dairy segment. They're looking at considering different solutions. There are a lot of research and science specialists from their teams, you know, who are helping them with the new product development in our community. And some of them are on the webinar today. Consideration, usually when considering, you know, some of the novel ingredients of the kind that you have mentioned, comes with the fact that are there any prolonged effects of their consumption on health, you know, on consumers over the few months or a few years. So is there any data or, you know, any facts that you would like to mention around this prolonged consumption of such ingredients?
Pankaj, can you take this one or?
Okay. See, again, when we are talking about prolonged consumption of these products and having a negative impact on health, it's very difficult to answer this question because the percentages what we offer are like as high as 1 to 2%. So, and then what of it is absorbed in the body is really very minuscule. We could have talked about it if we were a protein source, if we were being used at 15 to 20%, then we could have answered this question. So at the moment, what we can say, what we are giving is a flavor modifying properties or a yeast extract, which is giving a taste modification in your existing recipe. So an impact on health or health system is really difficult to comment.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. So basically, we talked about salt reduction, right? Some of this was obviously covered by you in your slide. But could you cover, Vicky? This question is directed to you because you're a food scientist and you work with the Culinary Center on development of mock meats or, you know, plant-based meats. And
Yes.
you know, that's a question basically asking about reduction in salt. Could you talk a little bit about that in different products that you help develop?
Okay, actually, for the salt reduction, we do offer a high umami extract. They can be used for salt reduction. And generally speaking, it can help to reach a salt reduction around 15 to 20%. It depends on the original salt content and also the ingredient matrix. But yes, we do offer a high umami extract that help in salt reduction.
Got it. So you said about 15 to 20% of salt reduction is possible, right, in products?
Yes. Yes, you are right.
Got it.
But it depends on application to application, depend on the ingredient they're using also.
Yeah, just Shardul, sorry to interrupt. Just to add, we are well aware about, you know, the let's say the main challenge in India with the FASI, you know, publication over the past years. whereas there is a clear guidelines by the government, to contribute to salt reduction in the main food processors. So we are really taking care of that direction seriously, and by providing the best compromise in terms of product performance on the main segments. So we are targeting and we are developing, let's say, tailor-made new product and solutions to be able to reach the main food segments in India, either the seasonings, the snack seasoning and the soups also, in order really to reach this point. And again, our goal, I mean, on the application side is, okay, we could claim 15, 20, yes, but how much from the salt initial compound, it makes also a big sense to us to really go for, like, when recipes are containing over 8-10% salt, to really go and try to develop some solutions to bring out the salt reduction which already, contain a significant salt contents. So it's very challenging. Because we need to be ensure about taste, which should be quite similar than the one you used to have. So we are developing from the past year, let's say, tailor-made solutions to reach this point, especially for Indian market, which is one of the top one to claim salt reduction over the past years.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. And obviously in India, salt and sugar considerations are going to be super important, and increasingly entrepreneurs looking for some of the solutions which can tackle that. And that was heartening to understand. Could you, by the way, Vicky or Hugo, either of you, talk a little bit about any permissible limits of yeast extract in food and any drawbacks? We talked a lot about advantages in new product development, clean label, all of that, but are there any drawbacks specific to these products which people should, entrepreneurs or scientists or new product development specialists, should keep in mind before considering ingredients like these?
We are this is a frequent question, Shardul, and we don't yet have a very proper answer on this one. What we can claim is, it's also linked to what Pankaj was mentioning. We are supposed to be a low dosage ingredient in the final formulation. So we are, let's say, yes, ready to consume at the end, can be 1%, 2%, 3%. So it's still very low compound, but still high content of proteins. So it makes like 70% proteins multiply 2 or 3%, final dosage, which is quite low. So again, it's a natural ingredients coming from a natural microorganism. So there is no, I would say, negative effects onto this one. Nevertheless, to have a very clear and open answer to you, we don't have, like, let's say, a scientist claim to show like clear drawbacks about the usage of yeast extracts. But let's say, thanks to origin, process, claim, we can guarantee, we can ensuring to customers, we know that we are clean label solutions, again, with a better, healthier formulation.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense, Hugo. My next question is actually to Pankaj, and Pankaj, we've spoken in the past as well, like entrepreneurs approaching you, and how, like, you could answer this from a general perspective, right? From your experience of working with entrepreneurs, corporations, mid-level startups in new product development and using some of the yeast extract solutions in the past. How does the process usually work? What are some important considerations an entrepreneur should have before, going down this route of using technical services provided by somebody like Biospringer or, a similar ingredients company? If you could just add and throw light from your own experiences, it would be helpful to the community at large.
Yeah, so Shardul, my quick answer to this would be 2 points. One is, yeast extract is actually a building block to make a vegan kind of product. Or, for example, if you're not talking about vegan, there are many other products which are there in the country which people are using yeast extract to build a better flavor profile. And it ranges from imparting a good mouthfeel to get umami. And I just answered one question, a person was asking about umami. So umami is the 5th basic taste which we talk about when we are working on a savory product. And this is more applicable to multiple product categories, sweet, ready-to-eat products or soups or noodles. So that's how, so yeast extract should be used as a building block to these kind of products. And secondly, in terms of collaboration, I am based in Mumbai, and I do get support from my culinary center based out of Singapore, and they have been working exclusively on India-based profiles. And the yeast extract, what we talked about, the spicy concept, the starting point for it was India, because India people consume a lot of spicy food. And like if you read more about yeast extract and uh, umami and spiciness does not go together. But this particular range of yeast extract, what was designed was to complement the spiciness. So that's where I think we are excelling in markets wherein we feel we should be designing a product closer to the market which we operate in, and thereby we are doing a lot of development in terms of offerings to markets, especially India. And we are focusing on the Eat Right campaign issued by FSSAI, when we are talking about salt reduction and fat reduction, both through our product ranges.
Got it. Makes sense. So can you also tell us a little bit specifically on any plant-based meat products or plant-based egg or dairy products that you've come across in India, your experience on working with some of the solutions, or just maybe from a general understanding of what would it take to use some of the ingredients like made from yeast and apply them to get superior quality of plant-based meat, eggs, and dairy products in the market?
Yeah, I think the answer to this is there are a good number of products in India who are right now using our range of yeast extracts, be it standard range of yeast extract or a specific like a chicken flavored or a cheese flavored. Due to proprietary concerns, I'll not be able to answer your the names of those companies. But yes, we are present with them, and when creating those recipes, I think it takes a close collaboration wherein people share the protein source with us, because as Hugo mentioned, the source of protein is always very important while we suggesting a solution from our side. And sometimes what specific process parameters are you going to use, there also we recommend our yeast extracts accordingly, because our range is 20 plus products. I cannot submit all of them for a vegan application or a plant-based meat application. So that's where when we work with the customer, we try to understand their base, try to understand their requirements, and then accordingly do our submissions.
Got it. Varun, do you have any specific points to add to all of this context in Q&A session today?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ardul. Hey, everyone. This is Varun Deshpande. Pankaj, to your last point, I just wanted to add that when it comes to entrepreneurs engaging with Biospringer across the India, Singapore, and other teams, the goal would be to come in with a very good idea of what you want your product to look like. And then you can have some kind of co-development arrangement with Biospringer when it comes to a custom solution for taste profiles and masking, etc. But ultimately, it's up to the entrepreneur to come in with a great deal of knowledge, thinking through what kinds of products they want to formulate, taking advantage of Biospringer and companies like them, the expertise that they have in-house in product formulation and sensory analysis and all of those things. And that's really how you get great products. It's going to be difficult unless you're able to come in with that kind of knowledge. So we'll be sharing Pankaj's contact details as your point person for Biospringer within India, and we encourage people to reach out to him if you do have certain product development aspirations and certain entrepreneurial aspirations. I think that would be great.
Thank you, Varun.
Yeah, great context there, Varun. And on that note, I actually had a question for Pankaj, Hugo, and Vicky. Starting with Pankaj, maybe, and you guys can add to it, Hugo and Vicky. Basically, in the new product development process or a concept development process, when an entrepreneur reaches out to you, on building on Varun's point, what are the top 3 points you feel that entrepreneur is really not prepared or should actually prepare for when they are reaching out to you? Usual mistakes, common pitfalls, any of those things you can think of from experience.
Hugo, would you like to answer this question?
Linked to, sorry, I'm not too sure to be able to.
Sure, I can repeat that, Hugo. So whenever an entrepreneur usually approaches you, and we are talking about an entrepreneur who probably does not have a ton of resources, who's starting out, with a small team size and kind of trying to create innovative products. What are the 3 usual things you usually see that the entrepreneur has not done their homework on? common pitfalls or, you know, some of the limitations of their understanding of the new product development process, etc., etc. You can touch base on those points.
The main challenge, Shardul, about the vegan is, I mean, from what we saw on the market is to, let's say, select the right plant proteins base, which is the main key point. You know, this is a starting point. So it's all depending the way from these guys to come already with, let's say, pre-trials or selection about the raw materials they're going to use. And from these technical aspects, we can support, but of course there is a need to upstream to see in which kind of directions. Again, the different, I mean, depending the type of plant proteins you will use, let's say the downstream effects could be different. Again, we need to play on the texture, on the composition, on the visual aspect. So the challenge is very wide, very deep, and very complicated. So again, I would encourage to have a pre-selection of technical aspects upstream as much as I can through, let's say lab scale trials or few blends, depending the type of proteins available, either in India or either for outside sourcing, which could be a starting point. Yeah, today there is a rush onto this vegan segment, but it's also very challenging to become successful. And again, this requires a lot of technical backgrounds to be able to formulate the right products depending the consumer's expectations. I think the door and is still very open for India. It's a good thing. But again, challenging regarding the fact that, yes, you need juiciness, you need water binding, you need taste profile, you need off notes to be kicked out. So this will be, let's say, some work prior to come to us, a little bit of work to see the directions they want to achieve.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess that's a good answer. Vicky, anything to add there? Because you're also a new product development scientist, and I'm assuming you might have an opinion there.
Thank you. I think Hugo already mentioned most of the points. Fine from my side. Thank you.
Makes sense. Yeah. Hugo covered a lot of ground there. So Pankaj, one more quick question, right, about India specifically. So all of these yeast extract solutions, ingredients, and, you know, the end products that companies or entrepreneurs might develop with them. And again, the focus again should be on plant-based meat, eggs, and dairy products, etc. What are some FSSAI considerations in terms of approvals, ingredient classification, etc.? Could you throw some light on that?
Yeah, I think this product has been defined under FSSAI now under the proteins category, and yeast extract does not needs to be classified as a separate ingredient, because this has to be included in the ingredients list as yeast extract as it is. It does not come with the E number, which was a lot of questions coming throughout the presentation. This is a clean label solution, all natural and vegetarian, or we can claim vegan. So if you are putting a green label on your label, you can still continue to put that even after adding a yeast extract. So that's about it in FSSAI. And in terms of application percentage, there is no limit. It is GMP. So, and I as my experience is, people does not go beyond 3 to 5%. So no issues in that.
Yeah, makes sense. And Varun, so we heard a lot about branding and, you know, positioning these products as vegan versus plant-based. I also put in a comment. So I love Varun to share his insights on this specific, topic here.
Yeah, thanks, Shardul. And I think especially because we have many first-time attendees, it's important to note that there's a distinction when you're talking about consumer perception and positioning your product versus the food formulation and product development aspect of it. So for someone like Hugo and Vicky, who are focused on thinking through what is the actual descriptor of the product from a food formulation standpoint, it might make sense to use the word vegan because they need to know that it's free from lactose. They need to know that it's free from certain things. and that dictates how it performs in the product. That dictates a lot of stuff. It dictates the regulatory aspects, all of that, right? Because you might have to put on the label the green dot, the red dot, etc. But when it comes to positioning and what you are calling your product as an entrepreneur or a corporation, overwhelmingly plant-based outperforms the word vegan, right? So we're doing a lot of consumer research in the India region that confirms this, that takes it forward, that looks at positioning different categories of products, and we'll be sharing it very widely with the community. But that's just one point to note, is that this is distinct from how you are going to position your product and what you're going to call it. So plant-based chicken is better than vegan chicken. And the reason for this is something that you might guess. If you use the word vegan, then many consumers are turned off by the word vegan because they think, oh, this is vegan, it's not for me. But plant-based is a more inclusive term. So obviously, again, Hugo and Vicky will use the word vegan from their perspective as product developers, but you have to come in as an entrepreneur, as a corporation, really do your homework on what consumers will respond to when it comes to the marketing of your product, and then put the product descriptors on the label also, but market it as plant-based versus vegan, etc.
Yep, got it. That's actually a great point, Varun. And I think we are pretty much to our time limit now. It's 5:30, and I mean, it's really wonderful. I don't know where the last 90 minutes really went because everything was such full of information. Great Q&A session. Thank you, Pankaj and Vicky, for answering a lot of the questions in the Q&A section as well. I think we should be closing out the session now, unless Hugo, Vicky, and Pankaj, you have some parting remarks, on how people can go on about this sector in general. If there are any remarks, please feel free to cover them. If not, we'll close out the session.
Thank you, Shardul.
Great. Anything to add, Vicky? You good?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, so from my side, I think big thanks to GFI team and Varun and Shardul, especially for the coordination, what we received to organize this webinar, and to all the audience who are still there. This is not the end of the story. You guys, any queries if you need in terms of developing your recipe, in terms of more knowledge you need in these kind of plant-based proteins, because we have acquired a lot of knowledge through our expertise and through our centers located in US and Europe, wherein a lot of work has been happening in plant-based proteins area. So if you need any more support in terms of designing a recipe, in terms of solving a specific taste related challenge, please feel free to reach to any of us and we will be solving it together.
Great, thank you, Pankaj. And just to underpin that point, right? I was earlier speaking about the smart protein innovation community, and it's actually a community at large because people like Pankaj have been very active right from the very start. Pankaj attends a lot of webinars, actively engages with the other stakeholders in the community. And I think this is something quite remarkable. A lot of you are doing something similar for each other, and we are really grateful for each and every stakeholder involved in this community, helping push and accelerate the change towards a better food future of food for India and the world. Thank you so much for joining.